Hey, welcome back everyone. So in today's video, I want to talk to you about dealing with mistakes within your artwork. So this one was a prime example for me. I was drawing Hellboy, and as I started this process, I felt really good about it. I was like, oh, it's a good pose. I like it. The idea was coming out pretty easy on the page, and I felt generally pretty good about it. Now, about halfway through it, I started to hit some roadblocks, and I started to feel not so good about it. And so this happens to me quite often. Like I would say probably 50% of my work only sees the light of day. It's unfortunate. I think it should be a better amount than that. But I do feel like part of the process is drawing some bad ideas, some bad sketches, studies, things like that, and then ultimately figuring out what are good ideas by comparison. So I feel like a certain amount of that percentage is just kind of part of the job. But I also feel that's something that could be improved upon. I don't want to waste absorbent amounts of time, making all these mistakes but really just not completing stuff. So I think that's the biggest aspect of it. We have to remember that nothing is truly perfect, anyways. We try to revisit the work and constantly improve. We hold ourselves accountable to a certain level of, in our skill set, and we want to constantly improve. That's natural. But we got to remember that, there's no real sense of perfection. And, perfectionism is like this I consider it something fake, where we try to hold ourselves to some level and degree of like, hey, look at me, I'm perfect, my artwork's perfect, when that's not real, that's not factual. And this, modern age of like all this crazy social media, it's real easy to get caught up in stuff like that. Only show the best, only show the very, the things that we consider closer to perfection. So again, something you really don't want to attach to your artwork. You really just don't want to attach that to anything in life, in my opinion, but it's out there. It's something to be aware of. And it does kind of go with the territory of being an artist because, again, we're constantly trying to improve. So it's like, easier said than done, right? It's like you're trying to always get better, but at the same time, don't try to worry about making everything perfect. Just make it as good as you can for today and keep on trucking. Again, not everybody can do that. I struggle with that myself. And that's why you see me redrawing the legs over and over because of like, something's not right. Maybe I could have just covered them up with shadow and moved on, but I just kept trying to redraw and redraw. And as it's happening, I'm losing energy for the piece and I'm starting to feel more disenchanted with the artwork. In fact, at this stage, I wanted to give up on it, and I'm glad I didn't. So the other thing that I want to say is, giving up too early on your projects will only make you good at one thing, and that's giving up too early. So you have to basically say, okay, acknowledge it, right? I'm not drawing this as well as I'd like. There's a few things I can do. I can get up, walk away. I can look at some reference. I can take a break from it. It's always a good thing. But acknowledging it, that you're not drawing it well at this moment, but that you're not just going to give up for that simple reason. Like, so for instance, yes, maybe you're not getting it immediately at this moment, but you can keep revisiting it. You can do other things. You can simplify the work. You can simplify the forms and the shape. I ultimately even compromised here. I wanted to get that leg up on the rock structure and the other one back, and you see I ultimately settle on both legs being postured backwards a little bit more. So I did make a compromise there. Now, sometimes when you're working with people, you can't make those kind of compromises, but I felt like it was still a good pose. I was still pretty happy with it, and it ultimately allowed me to work through it and get it done instead of going with my other instinct, which was to give up, which I didn't want to do. So again, try not to give up on the work. It can be a very bad habit that can lead to a lot of unproductive drawing, and I don't think that's a good idea. So the other thing I want to mention is that, not everyone will see the mistake as a mistake. You have to remember that, we probably all experience this as artists where you drew a piece and you thought it was better than it was, and then people looked at it and they're like, it's okay, whatever. And then other times you drew something or created something that you didn't think was awesome, but it got a lot of attention. I think that's happened to all of us, I would imagine. I know it's happened to me, and what it tells me is that we're our own worst critic, and also that not everybody sees the mistakes that we put down as evidently. Now, another thing is this: imagine looking up to the artists that you admire. There's some amazing artists out there, right? And I can bet you, without being able to ask them directly all the time, that they see mistakes in their work that you just don't see, right? It's almost like a ladder effect or a pyramid or something. Everybody is at a different level, and some things they draw really well or they fight to get right in their artwork. And you're not always going to know that unless they share the content in a way that specifically points it out. That's what I do on the channel. I share what mistakes I have. I tell you, I suck at drawing legs. I need to get better at them. Like, that's just something that I do because I want other people to realize that it is a lot of hard work. But you do have to remember that people that are not as advanced as you at drawing, some people don't even draw, they just appreciate the work. Some of them don't see your mistakes as mistakes. In fact, they might just like it regardless, right? So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a warm fuzzy feeling that you don't got to fix every single thing all the time. You can really actually kind of pinpoint certain things that need more attention, things like faces, hands, the general pose of the body, and work out from there. It's not like every wrinkle has to be in the right spot, right? Certain things have to be drawn correctly and other things don't. Like, you can't draw a square in the background and call it a moon. That would be silly, but just things like that. So just realize not everything's truly a mistake. The other thing is that I like to do when I do get to this sense and this feeling of like, oh, I'm going to give up. This isn't working out. This piece isn't the greatest thing. Whatever, I could do better. And I start telling myself all these things, right? I like to also challenge myself to imagine that I'm working for a client, that I'm working on a book deal for one of the big guys, working on commissions or some game art, something that has a deadline. That's what I did here. Instead of giving up, I challenged myself, say, what if I only had a few hours left on a storyboard gig or whatever it is, and I had to get this done? I would have to figure out a way to be creative and inventive and just get it done and make it look as good as I could for now. Pull some reference, integrate that into what I have, not start over from scratch, which is only going to cost me a ton of time. It's going to add some stress on my back. I mean, imagine if you're working on a deadline and you're getting close to that deadline, you're like, but this just isn't right, and you crumble up the paper. That's not going to help you in that stress level, right? It's going to make it worse. So, but what you could probably do is figure out a way to maybe light table some reference and study some things real quick, and then integrate what you know at the moment and make it as best you can for this particular moment and get it done. So that's something you learn as a professional. You just have to figure that out. The other thing is just take a break and then come back and then go for it. Like, so, back to the perfection thing. Like, a lot of times, we get caught up in this moment where we're trying to get it done. We're trying to make it right. And it's not working. For some reason, we're just not seeing the shapes. We're not seeing the forms properly. The shading isn't working. Something's not working. And what do? We stay there in that moment of frustration and we keep pushing, even though we're in between a rock and a hard place. Sometimes we just have to step back, and it seems counterproductive. It's like, no, I got to get this done. I'm running out of time. Why would I take a break from it? Because it's not working. Your mind's not clicking at the moment for that. And there's those times when you were drawing things and everything was just coming out smooth like butter, right? So you have to get up, walk away, relax yourself, and then come back. But then come back at it with a sense of, I'm going to get this done. Completion is better than perfection. I'm not saying come back at it and say, all right, now I'm going to draw it perfect. Don't do that. You'll probably put yourself right back in that same mental barrier. Come back and just say, all right, I've had a chance to breathe and relax a moment. Let me look at some more reference. Let me just, it's not like I have to trace some reference or anything like that. Just look at it, absorb some of it, come back at it again, but get it done. Have a sense of completion. Because you got to remember that when you're completing these projects, even if they're not perfect, you're getting a sense of completion. And that is so important to your productivity. That is so important to your growth. So again, hopefully some of these tips have helped you, and hopefully you've enjoyed today's video. More content on the way very soon. As always, keep drawing, keep having fun, and bye for now.